everyone. I'm now calling this meeting to order. Please stand with us. We'll be led in prayer by Alderman Gallagher. Please remain standing after that for the Pledge of Allegiance that will be led by Alderman Payne.
Heavenly Father, we ask you to smile on us again, Lord, as we begin our meetings, Lord. We pray that you would give us wisdom for each and every decision that we make, Lord. Lord, we thank you for dying on the cross for us and saving us from our sins, Lord. Help us not to make it hard, Lord, to just do as you've done, Lord, and to love one another. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from the November 5, 2019 meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the minutes of the regular meeting of November 5th, 2019 with any additions, deletions, or corrections.
Second. We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hughes.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is our FY 2020 budget amendment. Mr. Chris Wilson.
Mayor Board, this is a budget amendment which will bring forward those projects listed from FY19 to FY20 and the money to expend in those accounts. And again, those are projects that were already approved in years past, simply transferring them from one budget to the next.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion we approve the 2020 budget amendment. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hughes.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Next on the agenda, in September of 2018, we started discussing a proposed project to build a bridge, to build a pedestrian bridge over Getwell at May Boulevard. With that project, what started that is, or the proposed need for that, is the desire by the city and this board to make our city a more pedestrian-friendly city. So years ago, one of the first steps that was made, and it was actually before my term as mayor, our planning director Whitney Cook can tell us more about that, but there was an alternative transportation grant that the city sought from MDOT, which proposed a 10-foot wide multi-use trail that would connect Central Park and Snowden Grove Park. With that, there have been some hang-ups along the way, complications, but we've moved forward. That project will be under construction in 2020. So it will leave, the route of that, it'll leave Central Park on Tullahoma. It'll cross Goodman and go south on Tullahoma to May Boulevard. And then it will stop there until the development on May is done. When that's built out, and then it will proceed east to another project that the city applied for, a pedestrian project that adds a 10-foot multi-use trail throughout Snowden Grove Park. The city applied for MPO funding. MPO has projects that are geared just towards pedestrian routes, so we applied for that specific project. We were awarded that, and that project is actually under construction now. So actually that trail is being built now, and that trail will be complete, or is projected to be complete by year end. In 2017, pedestrian lanes were added throughout Central Park. Now this is not a 10-foot multi-use trail, but just a lane that's on the road that goes through Central Park. So we added pedestrian lanes there. Then we connected that with a little short passway that crosses Sweeney Road going back west on Clarington Drive, which as y'all know, goes all the way through the subdivision of Greengrove. And so we put pedestrian routes, bike routes, pedestrian routes through along Clarington, which goes all the way almost to Airways in near Baptist DeSoto Hospital. So this route, and I'm gonna make sure I'm not misquoting, but I believe I've been told that when this route is done, it will be the longest pedestrian route in the history of DeSoto County. And so we've come a long way in a short period of time. We obviously got some pieces we got to connect. So ideally, within a couple of years, this route goes from Baptist Hospital all the way through Central Park, all the way through down May Boulevard, through Snowden Grove Park to the tennis center. So it actually travels all the way from Baptist Hospital all the way to Malone Road. So that's something, you talk about making up some ground in a hurry, that's big time. And with that, obviously there's two key pieces that are missing. You won't catch me running across Goodman Road. We talked to MDOT. MDOT is aware that some things have to be done on Goodman for the route, for the traffic to be softened, slowed down. That's MDOT's authority. We have to rely on them. We've had many meetings with them, Whitney, requested that they do things to slow the traffic there, to make it safe there. But the one that's not MDOT's authority, but the city's authority is Getwell. And everybody in this room knows that if we have a traffic congestion problem anywhere, it is in the Goodman-Getwell area. And we've got to do, if we're going to connect these routes, we've got to do something with the crossing at May Boulevard over Getwell. Obviously, with the further development that comes there, it's going to be a bigger issue in that area. And so that's the missing piece that this bridge will fix. Traffic safety again on Getwell. There's no way that we can expect our police, when there is pedestrian traffic in the Silo Square, Town Square, which is naturally going to create pedestrian traffic, and then obviously with our park, with our concerts, we're going to have people going to events at Silo, coming across and enjoying our park, going to concerts, going to baseball, tennis, soccer events over there. There's no way we can ask our police to stop cars on Getwell. I mean, we have a major problem there because it's so close to Goodman. If we're stopping auto traffic on Getwell to allow pedestrians to cross there, we're compounding a problem, making a serious nightmare. So this bridge, again, that's the importance of this bridge. It solves the traffic safety and major congestion mitigation problem on Getwell and May Boulevard. Then I'll just go on further. Why this bridge? You look at cities around the country, and I'll tell you, for all of us, everybody in this room has traveled the country, we're so far behind with pedestrian routes. And it's important. People like that. I mean, everybody is not going to use a pedestrian path, but when you look at companies coming here, they're looking at things that the families of their employees want. With our own citizens are going to enjoy that. So this bridge not only improves the quality of life for our own citizens, but it makes us more economically attractive. It puts us in the ring. A couple of years ago, when Amazon was looking at their their number 2 headquarters, everybody in the country was going nuts over that. They were like submitting the specs back to Amazon and Amazon wanted to know about your city. They want to know about what kind of city are their employees going to live in. And one of the things on there, surprisingly enough, is tell me about your pedestrian. Tell me about your walkability. Their main headquarters is in Seattle. They named all the restaurants and coffee shops in Seattle that their employees could walk to at lunch on any given day. And so I just started thinking about that. Like, if we're putting Southaven on that list, what do we have to offer? I mean, what is walkable in Southaven, Mississippi? Not much. And so it's just something that is in demand by companies and by citizens these days. So it does this bridge does puts forth a tremendous effort in making us more economically attractive. Obviously, when you have that, it results in economic growth. And we believe even more specifically, just as you see now in the pictures at Vanderbilt, University of Missouri, Foley, Alabama, we believe that this bridge will become iconic. Just like we did when we first started talking about a bridge and we Google it, what do you think pops up? University of Missouri, Foley, Alabama, Vanderbilt. They're beautiful bridges. And we believe that it will be iconic. That, combining that with Snowden Grove Park, it becomes a serious marketing tool to increase tourism to our city as well. And obviously that has the same resulting economic benefits. But the last thing that I want to make sure, among my board, that we all understand is that we have an opportunity now with a town square that the city's never had. And it's going to develop on its own on the east side of Getwell. We obviously are doing tremendous things to Snowdenburg Park. I mean, it was built as a baseball park, but you look at it now, it's become so diverse now. It's become so much more. Then you have your businesses that are already on Nail and in the area that are being built there on the west. Silo's obviously on the west side. Then you have the park on the east side. But connecting these two and making it one large walkable area and making it the first entertainment district that our city's ever had. You look at Main Street in downtown Memphis. You look at Overton Square. You look at Oxford, Mississippi, the square. You look at Bourbon Street in New Orleans. I mean, you look at all these places that are attractions for people. We've never had anything like that in Southaven, and rarely have we had anything like that in DeSoto County in general. So I just want to point out the benefits. I've heard a lot of things said about the bridge that were not correct. So I feel like it was important for everyone to hear, what is this bridge for? Why is this bridge important? It's much more than just a pedestrian bridge. It can pay serious dividends to our city for many years in the future. So I open up the discussion, and what's on our agenda tonight is authorization to determine qualifications. So what we specifically mean by that is we don't know who we want to design this bridge yet. Obviously, when we look at Vanderbilt, Missouri, Foley, Alabama, we know that there's people out there that have experience with it. So we want to entertain and get information on architectural firms to make sure that they're qualified to build us something that's similar to these projects. So tonight, I'm asking for a motion to authorize us to determine which firm that we choose, and then with a resulting intent to enter a contract to build or to design the May Boulevard pedestrian bridge.
Are you asking for like an RFP? Or,
It's not an RFP, it's
or would you reach out and ask, like you and I guess Brad would reach out and ask? Or?
well, what we would do is we would reach out to architectural firms and request information about their qualifications.
Okay, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not actually, at a later date, we would actually enter the contract, like get into the financials of what it's going to cost, that kind of thing. But this would just be, basically this is an intent by this board to eventually hire someone to design the bridge.
I'll make it.
I'll second it.
Mayor, can I ask a question?
Sure.
So how is this going to be paid for?
How's it going to be paid for? It'll be paid for.
Before, it sounds like, to me, because obviously I'm not part of this, but it sounds like the cart before the horse. We're making a motion to do something, but who's going to pay for it?
No. It's not a cart before the horse. You may have missed the meeting recently. We approved a capital improvement bond. We approved a bond issuance that's already been done. So it would be part of that. It's part of a larger project. It would include a number of infrastructure improvement projects, including Fire Station number 5, which is next on the agenda. So no, that's already been approved to go out and issue bonds.
We're going to build a bridge across Getwell, why we wouldn't put that closer to the DeSoto Central schools where our children would be safer crossing Getwell. Because as you mentioned, the traffic there is horrible, and our police force is unequipped to handle the traffic and that at that time frame.
Sure. The answer would be what I said earlier. It connects the routes. Those paths are already designed. So like the multi-use trail coming from Central Park is already designed to come to May Boulevard. And then the other one is obviously at Snowden Park. So this is a connecting piece of those two. Obviously, in a perfect world, we'd love to have one at Central Parkway also. Now, there is one other piece of information that's a good question. Part of the MDOT project from Central Parkway to Snowden does include a piece that will go from Central Parkway north up to Nail. So that will allow.
Why wouldn't we, if that includes that, why wouldn't we just make that trail from May Boulevard down to Central Parkway and across the Central Parkway?
Well, money.
I mean, I understand.
That's going one way down the road. You had to cross, if you're crossing the bridge at Central Parkway, you had to build another trail on the other side back up.
And while I understand that, aren't we just simply talking about what sidewalks?
well, we're talking about sidewalks, but also the bridge. The other benefit to the bridge, like I said, is you're connecting your park with your highest traffic pedestrian traffic.
I understand.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we'd love, in a perfect world, we'd like a bridge everywhere anyone crosses the street.
Well, now, I'm a Southaven Charter through and through, but I am concerned about the number of children, and we're adding 200 homes in the subdivision. I'm concerned about the number of children that we have crossing that well, and as you say, it is a dangerous
Right.
road.
But we're talking about two different problems. We're talking about an issue that, like I said, connecting Snowgrove Park with Silo Square and the other routes that have already been funded. That's the purpose of the bridge being at that location. It's just a more high-profile location. It's going to add more value at that location. And not to say that we don't want a safe way for the kids to cross, but
Well, it seems like that's taking precedence over this.
well, you're going to have more people. You're going to have more people there at May Boulevard than your school traffic is 2 times a day.
There are thousands of children and families that go through there every day.
Yes, you're going to have more. Yeah, you'll have more traffic on the May Boulevard. We have to look down the road in the future. As of today, obviously not. There's nothing, nothing right there on the west side of Getwell. But when you look in the future, certainly you're going to have more traffic at May Boulevard than you would have at Central Parkway. Certainly. Yeah. Good question. We did have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Flores. Now we'll officially open up the floor for discussion among the board.
Mayor, I've got a couple of things that have been brought to my attention and stuff that I wanted to discuss. I've kind of talked to quite a few folks on the west side.
Sure.
And, of course, the majority of them aren't against spending money in the Silo Square area, but.
No, I don't know that. I know some are. I wouldn't say the majority.
Taking that out of the equation, I think what one of the biggest concerns is like you said, the fact is that there's nothing there yet. They would feel more comfortable if we waited, on down the road to see, how it develops out, if it develops out, and that kind of stuff. The second concern was, along what she was saying, was the student traffic. The fact that while we're building the bridge here for people going back and forth to a commercial project, as opposed to doing something down there with the crosswalks to improve those, with the children crossing the street every day. I think if those two things were addressed, I think people would feel more comfortable with it.
Okay. Well, let me address the second one first, since we're talking about the school. The other thing is people crossing Getwell there at Central Parkway. You're talking about people that live, only a small portion of your students at DeSoto Central. So obviously, if you're going to cross there, you live in the Snowden Grove development or somewhere in the close proximity. So that's not all of DeSoto Central. It would be a select number of students. So the answer to that is what I said earlier. You're going to have massive traffic at May Boulevard as opposed to, throughout the day or throughout the weekends that you would have at DeSoto Central, at Central Parkway for DeSoto Central School. And then your first question, you know the answer to that. Would you answer it for us?
Yeah.
You asked me that already. What is the answer to that?
Yeah, we've got to look into the future. I understand that, but that's a discussion. I was just bringing it up.
Oh, no, what I'm saying though is you asked about not having development on the west side of Getwell. There is development now that will be open within 6 months. So this bridge, and the specific answer to the question is when you start designing something like this, we're 8 to 10 months out. Like if we start tonight, we approve the design. By the time we, engage with an architectural firm, the time that they design the actual bridge, and then we go to bid and go through all the steps, you're looking at 8 to 10 months out. Well, there will be people doing business and eating at restaurants there before this bridge even construction begins. So it's not a bridge that's being built and hoping that there'll be development on the other side. There will be development. There's already development. It's under construction now. So the timing of this and then that, there will definitely be, pedestrians that will be frequenting the bridge at that time. Does that answer both of them? And I'll add to that, you made reference to maybe people in Ward 2 not being in favor of the bridge. Again, I would reiterate the fact that, I've said this many times before, whether or not you ever walk that bridge, whether you walk or care anything about going to Snowgrove Park patronizing any of the restaurants or other businesses that are going to be there along May Boulevard, this benefits everybody in the city. Anytime you make your city more economically attractive, you bring business here, which brings money to your general fund, which when money goes in that general fund, it can be used anywhere throughout the city. That's more police in Colonial Hills, that's more streets being paved in Colonial Hills or North Creek or wherever. So that would be my message to anyone that says, hey, that's across the city at, in Getwell, that doesn't benefit me. I'm not going to walk on it. So why? I don't like that. Well, you should like it because anything that makes your city more economically attractive is going to help you by stabilizing your tax rates and also bringing better amenities to you regardless of where you live in the city.
I don't doubt for a minute this is going to be a pretty monument for the city and an attraction.
Thank you. I agree.
Is this step that we're doing tonight going to cost anything at this point, or are we just looking for information on the architects to give us further information?
What we have tonight, good question. The reason that we're doing this tonight is we don't know who that firm is yet. Like, to answer your questions, no, it's not going to cost you any money to go start asking questions and get information. What will cost you money is when you hire the architectural firm. So tonight we're trying to find out, well, first of all, we're trying to get intent. We don't want to go as a city and spend, not cost, but resources spending time if the board is not in agreement with designing the bridge. So what happens tonight does not cost the city as far as any engagement in a contract, but it's leading to that next step, which would be the next step of the process of coming on and asking you to enter a contract. And at that point, you will have the financials on what that contract is going to cost. And so that would be the decision that you would be making in the future. What we don't want to do, and I think Alderman Hicks asked this previously, it was about another issue. It was about the paving proposal. You don't want to, the city needs direction from the board. Like, we don't want to go spend time trying to find an architectural firm if it's this board's decision that we don't want to design and build a bridge. So tonight when you vote, that's why the wording intent, your intent is to design a bridge, but it's not going to cost you anything tonight. That's a long answer. Does that make sense?
It does, thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
No.
Alderman Hoots?
No.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
Okay, and that motion carries. Next on the agenda is authorization to determine architectural firm qualifications with intent to enter a contract to design fire station number 5. So this is very similar to what we just talked about. And we do have a photo. This, if I could just start this discussion. Fire station number 5, as many of you know, was something that the plan started many years ago, and I don't want to quote which year because I don't know. But when the housing recession started in 2008, it made this less urgent because this part of the city is all zoned for residential, so it will serve the southeastern part of the city. So when residential halted in 2008, this kind of got put on the shelf. All right, well obviously now again, there's many homes being built, and many of these citizens along Star Landing and then along the southeastern part of the city are not getting the same response time as everywhere else in the city. Station 4, which is at May Boulevard in Getwell, currently services the southeastern corner of our city. That's a long way. So that's why this is back is important. This location is one that we believe, fire chiefs believe, to be ideal. It's in the curve on Star Landing Road, which will take care of service for the southeastern part of our city, and also back west along Star Landing Road, which is somewhat unprotected as far as from a timing standpoint now as well. The obvious question comes up, how is that going to be designed? Because eventually that curve is going to be, eventually one day, the curve is going to be taken out. It's been discussed again for many years, but eventually Star Landing Road is going to be straightened. So when you see the black line to the north of that blue design, that's going to be Star Landing in the future. You see the road on the bottom of your screen, that's the current Star Landing Road. So in that piece right there, we do have to be somewhat creative in how we position this station to make sure it's functional for now and when the road is straightened. So that's the design right there. It's with having the front face the west. Instead of it facing Star Landing, the front of the building would be facing the west. And then when you go further east to your right on the screen, that's when your fire station bay, that's where your fire station bays would be located. This is a little different than we've done it in the past, but we think it's ideal for this location. But with all that being said, our fire chiefs have done their research. They want to hammer down qualifications with architectural firms to make sure that we find someone who is experienced in not just architecture, but in building fire stations. So they have some prospects that have built hundreds of fire stations in the United States. Also, some of those are in Mississippi and Tennessee. So we believe that we want to talk to them first and do some research. But again, we have to determine qualifications first. So that's the purpose of the motion tonight.
I'll make that motion. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Hoots. Is there any other discussion?
Just remind this will increase our bond, our fire rating once it's built as well.
That's a great point. Our fire chiefs have talked to the State Rating Bureau. We're a Class 3 right now, which is an outstanding rating. We believe that with this fire station, we will immediately go to a 2. And then from latest estimates, we believe that we're on the border with this of 2 and 1. We believe that in the near future, after this station is built, that we have the possibility of becoming a 1, which would be the best fire station in the state of Mississippi. You may ask, well, what's that mean to me? Your homeowner's insurance rates, there's not a big difference in a 3 and a 1, but there's a major difference in commercial rates. So again, about making your city economically attractive, when you have someone that's considering building a major commercial building in our city and bringing jobs and all the other economic benefits, one of the things that they're going to want to know about is, what are my costs, And their insurance cost is obviously significant. So going from a 3 to a 2 to a 1 all helps that and makes us a more attractive location than other places.
With the motion also include authorization upon notification to go ahead and negotiate with bring a final contract to the board.
I didn't know that, yeah, you can if that's necessary. Chief, do we need to go ahead and name them?
Well, we can. We have a couple we're recommending, but what we'll do is reach out to them and come back to the board with contract.
Yeah. So authorization to seek qualifications and negotiate the contract, and then bring the contract back to the board for this fire station.
Okay,
Who made that motion?
I did. I'll make the motion.
okay. Thank you, sir.
All in favor?
Okay, again, we have that amended motion per Nick Manley was made by Alderman Flores and seconded by Alderman Hoots. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks,
Yes.
Alderman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Hoots,
Yes.
Alderman Payne,
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for no protest for the general obligation bond issue. Mr. Nick Manley.
As you recall, at the previous meeting in October, we authorized a resolution for the intent for the GO bond. As part of that resolution, you could file a protest up until 4 o'clock today. No one filed a protest. So tonight, authorized from there to sign the resolution for no protest for the GO bond issue. And this will allow for the validation of the bonds to begin and for the issuance of the bond to begin.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks,
Yes.
Alderman Kelly,
Yes.
Alderman Hoots,
Yes.
Alderman Payne,
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for surplus and transfer of Southaven Police Department equipment to Northwest Community College.
This is a resolution obviously to transfer and authorize for surplus and authorize the transfer of equipment to Northwest Community College, consisting of 2 items relating to radar from the Southaven Police Department to Northwest Community College. Northwest has already signed the agreement and be transferred pursuant to Mississippi Code for intergovernmental transfers. It's authorization for the mayor to sign the contract and the resolution for transfer.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt the resolution, Mayor Board of Aldermen of the City of Southaven declaring surplus property and the police department authorized me to sign.
Second.
I'm sorry, who made it? Who's second? Joel. We have a motion from Alderman Brooks, second from Alderman Gallagher. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman Hoots?
Yes.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution allowing us to have holidays.
First of the holidays is for Thanksgiving Day, Friday for Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and January 1, New Year's Day. All that's approved and proclaimed by the governor.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt the resolution of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Southaven declaring municipal holidays as presented on this date.
Second.
We have a motion from Alderman Brooks, second from Alderman Hoots. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman Hoots?
Yes.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution to amend the City of Southaven Ordinance Title 12, Chapter 4, Section 12106B. Ms. Whitney Cook, our planning director.
Yes, sir. This is to amend our streetlight ordinance. We've discussed many times the process and how to locate them, what the subdivision regulations require developers to do. Right now, it states that during their subdivision application, they've got to show us where they're located within the city or within the streets of that subdivision. What we're asking to do is to add to that, like the mayor said, in section 12106B. And it will state that subdividers shall obtain all cost and fixture design data from the electric company and or entity serving the property and submit to our office for approval. The design data will need to include the post, fixture details, and proposed locations. Lighting specifications will also be required and must include the proposed lumens and wattages of the light, and they must use LED technology or comparable technology. Basically, what we're asking for is your standard shoebox concrete lights that have been placed in subdivisions for years and years and years. We want to replace those with new subdivisions only with acorn style lighting. We talk with energy, it's not much more expensive. And as you know, technology keeps changing and changing, so now that LED's in place, we want to make sure that we're going with the newest technology on it. We want to make sure that the lumens and the wattages provide a warmer light, not the bright blue light that people know for LED. So what it does is give us a little bit more teeth and control on where the lights are, what they look like, and how they actually light up our streets. That is the amendment we're requesting.
Mr. Mayor, I move we adopt the resolution of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Southaven to amend the City of Southaven Code of Ordinances Title 12, Chapter 4, Section 12-106B as presented on this date.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman Hoots?
Yes.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for IT surplus.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt the resolution declaring surplus property in the IT department as presented. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman Hoots?
Yes.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
That motion carried. Next on the agenda is our planning agenda. Ms. Whitney Cook again.
Yes, sir. Our first application is a conditional use permit to open a barber shop at 7065 Airways Boulevard. This is going to be on the west side of Airways, north of Goodman Road, in a multi-tenant building right behind the hard corner. Per the business summary submitted, by the applicant, this establishment will cater to men with amenities such as a shave with a straight razor, haircuts and trims. Per our conditional use requirements in the ordinance, barber shops, hair and beauty salons, hair studios, spas, full service, nail salons, tanning salons, and other amenities such as this may locate in their stated zones with the stated requirements, so long as an existing establishment of the same classification is not currently located within a half mile of the newly proposed development. Staff did a window survey and also did a measurement via our GIS mapping system. Closest establishment similar to this is Sports Clips, which is situated on the west side of Southwest Boulevard, north of Goodman Road. Per the staff's measurements, the site did not fall within a half mile distance from the proposed location. Therefore, the applicant has met the requirements set forth in the ordinance. The applicant is requesting the conditional use permit. We are granting a 1-year permit with a 4-year extension to be renewed annually.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve item number 1 on the planning agenda.
On item 1, we have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Booth.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Our second item on the agenda is similar to the first. It is a conditional use permit to open a full-service hair salon on the west side of Getwell Road, north of May Boulevard, in Building 16, Unit 103 of the Silo Square Commercial Subdivision. Per their business summary submitted, the establishment will focus solely on hair services to include cuts, colors, style, Brazilian blowouts, perms, and waxing. No additional services added, which would define it as a full-service spa. As stated before, similar uses such as this, including hair salons, barber shops, nail salons, full-service spas, can locate in those stated zones with stated requirements, so long as an existing establishment of the same classification is not located within a half mile of a newly proposed development. Staff did do, again, a window survey, as well as the GIS measurements on it to determine distance compliance. It seems the closest one would be the Rococo Salon, which is in the Kroger complex at Getwell Road and Goodman Road. It did measure more than 3,000 linear feet. That being said, the applicant is requesting a permit for the use. Staff recommends a 1-year permit with a 4-year extension to be renewed annually.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we approve item number 2 on the planning agenda as presented tonight.
Second. On item 2, we have a motion by Alderman Flores and a second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion?
You said that it does fall within the half mile.
They fall outside of that.
Someone in the audience have a question?
We'd like to speak.
Yes, sir. And we will, by the way, just so everybody understands, I know this board agrees with me that we want to hear from our citizens and business owners, and we want to err on the side of listening. But the proper way is we have a place on our citizens' agenda for people to speak. So when we do this up front, we're losing order to our meeting just a little bit. But I don't think it's a problem for this. And it's not you. I'm just saying you have to speak on general. But please go ahead.
My name's Cliff McLemore. My wife and I own Rococo, which y'all were referring to the distance minutes ago. And the GIS, we pulled it with the GIS and found that it did fall within a half-mile radius of our shop. Brought this with me. Anybody would like to see it? So,
Obviously, we have a way of measuring
We
that.
measured it on GIS, but 3 city officials also went and actually measured it. It's measured from door to door, but we actually measured it just from the apron of Kroger all the way down to my Boulevard and then turned, and it was still exceeding a half mile by car measurement. So we checked it.
How does this measure? Door to door?
Yes.
Profiles?
yes.
And you'll see ours is measured from door to door there as well.
That's correct. Which within your ordinance says within a half-mile radius.
Okay.
Yeah.
The difference I'm seeing is yours is as the crow flies, ours is road miles, right?
Ours, we checked both. We want to make sure, because I mean, you know, when you zoom in there, you have to make sure that you get just so it's down the center lines of the road. That one measured out as 3,006 linear feet. When we actually went in the car and drove it, I had 3 city officials go check it. It was a half mile, it exceeded the half mile, and she landed at building 16. They're right there. Yeah, it's submitted. It's both Barber shop and this one are submitted.
Which ordinance reads, profile,
It's door to door.
So he's
How we measure
measuring-
it. Which, I mean, like I said, we didn't even
He's
measure
measuring
something
from
door to
here
door. This one's just
here,
measured from,
measured down the street across.
If you look where the arrow is on the Boulevard, that's actually past the building.
I think that's the.
ours is actually, there it is.
So how do we,
That's our address right there, 2902.
I see the
Southampton North
confusion,
Side.
so what do we actually go by as actual?
Well, that's why we went ahead and did the car stuff, we did the car too. The car
I'm saying
one.
this is going to that, I guess.
I haven't seen
Okay,
this.
I mean, I see the difference, I'm trying to figure out.
Reading the ordinance, it says within a half-mile radius.
Right, yeah.
If it falls within a half-mile radius, this actually falls within that half-mile radius.
The radius is actually a circle, so it'd be shorter
Exactly.
down, which means it would be more so.
Well, this is,
Yeah, see, this is, we've gone through a diagram. We take the route of where the measurement of the car. He just basically took a
Yeah, that's
diagram
what I'm
across
saying,
the,
that's
yeah,
the
to make it
difference. I was trying to figure out why this number's different than.
Yeah, that's why.
So we go by the actual roadway,
How you would access it via a car. Right,
proper road.
yeah.
Yeah, we have ordinance with it.
It's actually located, it's in your staff report. It says, barber shops here, beauty salons, studios, tanning salons local with, shall be located in state zones with state requirements so long as an existing establishment, same classification is not currently located in a half-mile radius of the proposed establishment. So like I said, we measure it via window survey for a car. Obviously, we can't go on a diagonal across private property on vacant land to do a measurement. We go down an actual roadway to access the site.
is that the way it's always done?
That's the way it's always been done. That's why we do all of them.
Like, I guess so Cliff,
Yes.
that's your point, you just want to.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at footnote number 43, it clearly says located within a half-mile radius.
That's a good point. That's what I just read.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean,
So you're saying it is, and
yeah, 2,640 linear feet, and we're at 2,500 and, I think, 10 feet or
2004 something. I think
2,478 linear feet.
I mean, to me, it looks like the confusion is how, the way in which we measure it compared to the way in which you measure it.
Yeah,
That's-
I understand.
Okay, I mean, that's, but as you said, that's the way we always do
We
it.
measured it via that way, because like I said, we can't measure going through private properties, so we measure how you would access it from a street from door to door.
I'm just trying to make sure we're not anything any different than we always do, is what I'm asking.
No, this is how we've always done it.
okay. Any questions for Cliff or, I'm sorry?
No, I mean, I was actually, I just want to make sure we do it the way the ordinance reads.
This is what the ordinance, I mean, you see what the ordinance states right there. I mean, I can see where Cliff is looking at it one direction, we're looking at it from the next direction.
What's the reason we have this?
It was approved, oh gosh, what did we say, Alderman Payne?
Long before our time.
Yeah, it was years and years ago, and I think the reason was you didn't want areas just saturated with the same uses constantly in every multi-tenant building that was up and down a road. I remember the Alderman Loftus, I believe, is the one that put it into play. And we've measured it that way since it was approved by the board. But it was due to like saturation of the market, or not, like I said, not just hair salons, beauty salons, but it brought in tanning salons and nail salons, and what you had is every single strip center had the same exact thing in it. So that was the intent, is to make it fair market, make it competitive, but we also didn't want a lot of vacancy rates, because the more you have in competition in a tight concentrated area, you create vacancy, so and that's where everything came from.
And that's one of the issues that all these girls have tonight. These are the salon owners, for all the salons up and down Getwell. That's one of the biggest problems, is there is in fact a saturation of salons. There's not enough employees, there's not enough customers. I mean, that's one of the biggest issues they face on a daily basis. If you were to ask them, I would say most of their salons they have vacancies left and right. To add more to this community, more to this corridor, it can't handle what they've got now, would certainly, be a detrimental effect to the city. They've been in business for a long time, they've been paying taxes, stable.
I got a question on that, but wouldn't that be the same issue for the person that's opening up a new salon? I mean,
Yes.
They're the ones that's opening up a new
Absolutely.
salon,
Yes.
and they don't have the customer base already that
Yeah.
many of the salons already have.
Absolutely. I mean, there's always, you take a risk anytime you open a new business, anytime. And to stay in business, it's risky all day, every day.
I mean, would you say that that's a bad business plan on their behalf?
It's not really, it wouldn't be for me to speak on their behalf of their business plan. I'm just saying that for these girls within this area that, have their salons and have had their salons for a long period of time, it's a struggle. So to add more, yes, would be more of a struggle.
As a bald man, I haven't been, I haven't gotten a haircut in 20 plus years.
I understand, we just still have to get your beard trimmed.
And it needs it.
So you have lots of daughters.
I live with, I've got 4 daughters and a wife, and even though they think I may not listen, I do.
Oh, I understand, trust me,
I pay attention.
I have a house full of girls as well.
But, I know that my wife's gonna bypass
Yeah,
6, 7, 8 salons
to get to
to
the one
get
that they
to,
want.
when she finds somebody that does her hair
Yes.
the way she wants it done.
Oh, listen,
I mean-
we're not wanting anybody not to succeed and open another business or anything. I mean, we're basically just going based on what we feel like is your ordinance, what you guys put in place, and just letting you know some of the other struggles that are out there for some of these other girls.
I understand that. I mean, we're small business owners too. And
Yeah.
I get that. I just, personally, and Whitney knows this, I'm not a big fan of even hampering it like we do.
Sure.
I can understand not having the same businesses and the same shopping complexes.
Sure.
But if you're on one side of Goodman Road
Yeah.
and somebody's,
Yeah, I mean,
in another shopping center on the other side of Goodman Road,
Yeah.
I don't see why there can't be 2
Right.
hair salons.
There can be, but there's also a problem with that. If you look up and down the street from Tullahoma all the way down to Malone, the salons that are up and down through there, the salons that are up and down Getwell, you see a huge amount of turnover. They're selling left and right. If you look within the city business license office, you'll see where there's been a great amount of turnover. Everybody has that opportunity to go into business, and we respect that. We also have complied by the ordinances when we've done it, and that's all we're asking.
Well, I guess the question is, did you comply by her standard of the ordinance,
We did
Yes.
we measured the same way.
or comply by?
I went back and did the measurements as well from Jill's fellow to, as the crow flies, as to where our salon is situated, and it surpasses, back then it was a mile, and we still surpass that, yes, so we
No, we
comply.
never had the mile record. That's all we've ever had.
So what, just so clear, the ordinance obviously says radius right there in the reading. Do we have a radius measurement at all, or ours is just a linear measurement?
We do a linear measurement.
You have a radius measurement.
I would
Wow,
linear
we
measure.
just- yeah.
Which
That's
we're
right.
doing more.
If you base a half-mile linear footage, it's 2,640 linear feet. And clearly, that's not met here, but if you want to put it in a half-mile rate, I mean, it's determination on how you guys determine your ordinance.
Who are the owners of the new salon?
So, in other words, the radius would prevent another salon from going, the salon from
No,
going.
I think the radius.
No, that's the point he's trying to make. The
No,
radius
what's
makes it
happening is-
less than half of a mile.
If you measure it by driving to it or
Right.
the roadway, it's allowing it because it's more than that. But what Cliff is talking about, if you interpret it, then it could be you know, you're taking a map and you're drawing a radius, you're drawing a circle and doing a radius, then it's different.
Exactly. That's, but I think that's the question with how the ordinance reads.
Right, that's why I asked, is it how we always do it, so.
Right.
Making sure nothing's, it's any difference.
So I think everyone understands, does everyone understand the issue on the board? So I guess tonight, and, you know, since we do need to move on, we need to make a decision one way or the other. So basically, we had a motion, you know, to approve item 2. So if someone wants to, you know, take another motion to change that based on this information or table or whatever other action, we'd like that at this point.
Mayor, I'm not going to we table it till we let Nick have a little more time to research it, make sure we're being fair. I mean,
Well, there's nothing to research, it's your ordinance. I mean, you can interpret and change. Nick's an attorney, but he's not, he doesn't.
I mean, the way I see it, obviously, I think the ordinance probably at some point, I'm not a fan of the ordinance anyway. But the way the ordinance reads, I think it does, you've got a good point. But the fact of the matter is, if we've done it this way every single time for every business owner that's out there, I think it's only fair that we do it this way. We continue to do it that way until we change that.
I'll agree with that, and I'm not gonna be one to say no to free enterprise.
Okay, so just so we stay on track, Alderman Hoots made a motion to table it. Is there a second to table it? One more time, is there a second to table it? Okay, hearing none, is there any other discussion on item 2?
And this may not be within the same motion, but I would like the ordinance committee to actually look at this. I don't know, I think, did y'all talk about this recently at an ordinance meeting?
We have not, we didn't discuss it. I think you brought up the attention of people.
Did you want to speak, ma'am?
Yes. I mean, I feel like we can argue, but instead of mayor all day long, but I mean, really the biggest part is what we talked about a few minutes ago with, just the oversaturation. We work really hard to elevate the industry, and when it's oversaturated like this, you get bad business. We're all struggling, every single one of us are struggling with finding new pilots to come and work with us and for us. And I know when I was trying to move a few years ago, I had an issue with trying to move anywhere. Like, I don't, you know, my location, I'm a destination place, I don't have frontage. And, I mean, I was limited on anywhere I could go because, you know, I respected, I didn't even do the fee or anything, I just respected Marion and Jill, and I wasn't gonna, you know, do that to them. So, and I think she was also trying to.
Last year, I believe it was, I had a friend of mine that was wanting to open a shop for me, and you know where the gas is on Goodman Road? That building, on Gatewell and Goodman Road. But anyway, we were denied also from opening the shop there.
I just think, I mean, I don't know. Now
And I disagree with that, by the way. I disagree with you being denied to go there.
But what you're hearing tonight is you're hearing citizens that are telling you that they like the ordinance, and there's a reason for the ordinance. Then you're hearing some that don't like it. So I think it's a very productive. I appreciate everyone speaking because you're giving the board a good sample of why we had the ordinance to begin with, and then it will be a board decision. You know, if there's any changes that they want to make to it.
Yeah, we do agree that it's great. I kind of wish it was further away, but, I mean, from what I understand, there's 700 salons and nail salons in the area. I mean, it's just a lot.
So you guys are saying you like the ordinance? You do like the ordinance? Okay. I think there's some
I would like to
confusion.
do longer, but, yeah. Yes. Me too. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming forward. Appreciate everyone that has spoken. Okay, is there any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call for item 2.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman Hoots?
Yes.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
Okay, and that motion carries. Number 3, you didn't finish with it.
Item number 3, we have a conditional use permit for a used car dealership to be located at 8320 Highway 51 North. It's going to be on the northeast corner of Highway 51 and Brookhaven Drive. It is currently a motor vehicle dealership. You'll know it as Andy's Auto Sales. The gentleman that owns it now is going back to his home country, and there are 2 brothers that own the one across the street, I believe it's Earl's Used Cars, that are wanting to occupy those for the same use. A lot of times when we have something in the West End District and we want to see some improvements on the building, it's contingency on the approval. Andy did do a lot of the improvements on this building already, and I'm sure a couple of the aldermen over there will remember when we went through some improvements with Earl's on the other side. They actually attempted to buy another structure and help improve that, and we couldn't make the deal work between the two, the owner and the proposed users on it. That being said, the gentleman that's wanting to occupy this one has proven to do a lot of the improvements and been a good value to us on the other side. His brother is going to keep that one. He's proposing to come to this side. We did go and do a window survey of the building. It's in good condition. The pavement has been done. We have asked if they kind of spruce up the landscaping because they are in a hard corner. Put some new signage out and agree to all that. So we are asking for approval of the conditional use permit for the auto dealership, and that will be 1 year with a 4-year extension. With that, if we do find some code issues come up with it, we can always revoke it at the board level.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve item number 3 on the planning agenda as presented on this night.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Kelly, second by Alderman Hoots. Is there any discussion?
Whitney, this is just a new owner, correct? I mean,
It
there's
is.
somebody that owns, there's cars there now.
There are. Andy's Auto Sales is there now. Andy, the owner, is actually going back to, I believe it's Sri Lanka, where his family's at. So he wants to sell the business. So the 2 brothers that are across the street, obviously a lot they talk. They knew it was coming up for sale. They approached him, and the one brother, Kevin, asked for a price, and he's decided to buy it and take over the
Does
use.
this qualify as a separate issue? Does qualify for the tax incentive?
This one is not going to have enough significant improvements as it is. Like I said, it's been painted. There's already been some sealant on the parking lot. You know, so the only thing they're really going to do for us on this one is to put some additional landscaping in there and improve the signs, maybe some lighting. The tax incentive program is for some bigger improvements with a bigger money mark on it. So this one won't really qualify for that. We will look into giving some quicker expedition of the process for them, and a lot of times work with them on their application. So.
It's glad to be. I like having a business.
Right.
Any other discussion on item 3? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda is mayor's report. First, I have a proclamation for Small Business Saturday that I'd like to read to call attention to promoting small business. Whereas the government of Southaven, Mississippi celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. According to the United States Small Business Administration, there are currently 30.7 million small businesses in the United States. They represent 99.7% of all firms with paid employees in the United States and are responsible for 64.9% of net new jobs created between the years of 2000 and 2018. Whereas small businesses employ 47.3% of employees in the private sector in the United States, and whereas 94% of consumers in the United States value the contributions small businesses make in their community. And whereas 96% of consumers who plan to shop on Small Business Saturday said the day inspires them to go to a small, independently owned retailers or restaurants that they have not been to before or would not have otherwise tried. And whereas 92% of companies planning promotions on Small Business Saturday said the day helps their business stand out during the busy holiday shopping season. And whereas 59% of small business owners said Small Business Saturday contributes significantly to their holiday sales each year. And whereas Southaven, Mississippi supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our communities. And whereas advocacy groups, as well as public and private organizations across the country, have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday. Now, therefore, I, Darren Musselwhite, by the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Southaven, Mississippi, hereby proclaim Saturday, November 30, 2019 as Small Business Saturday, and urge the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year. A few other updates this evening. We've talked about a lot of them, so I'm not going to spend much time getting into detail, but the many parks projects that this board knows are underway are making great progress. The Springfest pavement project, making great progress. The Snowden Trail that we talked about earlier is moving along. When the weather's good, they're making great progress there. The Greenbrook Indoor Training Facility is nearing completion. The park shop that is being built just to the west of the tennis center. You'll notice that there's been land cleared there. We're getting a lot of questions as to what that is. That is it's being cleared for multiple purposes. It's being cleared for the park's maintenance shop, which will be in the back, and then the front of it will be the area that can be used for future tennis expansion. There's enough room for 8 more tennis courts in the event that the city sometime in the future decides to do that. And then soccer. Soccer has been designed. Soccer is, the land is being cleared there north of the bowling alley on Snowden Lane. That's what that is. That's our new home for soccer at Snowden Grove Park. Then moving on to other projects. No need to get into the details about the delays, but State Line Road resurfacing. They're back working on the road and plan to have that project completed this week. I know we got some rain later on in the week, but they're hustling. They're trying to get that done this week. City Hall, the progress continues. The roof, it has been re-roofed. We went through a little fun day last week when we had the green hat off and it rained one day, but the roofers did a great job, and we all worked together as a team to prevent any kind of damage. Went basically unscathed with that, so the roof should be done soon. As soon as they finish the roof on the tower, they'll move to the one-story area, and then they'll also come back and do the porch area that's going to be enclosed on the west end of the building. Still projecting that City Hall will be done. Both the exterior and first floor renovations should be done. The date was by the end of February, but I would say it's safe for us to say end of March. Monument signs are progressing. As y'all know, we're working on the one at I-55 and Starling Road on the interstate. It's a beautiful sign. If you haven't been on the interstate, please go to Pleasant Hill and go north and drive back and check it out. It's going to be it is a grand entrance to our city. They're done with everything except for we got to go back and paint the recessed area of Southaven so it's more visible. And then there's a back metal plate that goes behind top of Mississippi to make it more visible. As soon as that's done, which is scheduled to be done tomorrow, we're going to move dirt to level out the area so we can landscape the sign. And then we're also working with Entergy to bring electricity to that area, which will provide permanent landscaping lighting to the sign as well. It's going to be outstanding when it's done. The third one that was approved in this budget year is at Malone and Goodman Road. So as soon as this one's done, F&F will move directly to Malone and start the one at Malone Road on the northwest corner of Malone and Goodman Road. So they're just beautifying our city. It's really good, and I appreciate the board's support on making our city a more attractive place. And basically, that is it. I thought I'd do something else tonight instead of doing all the talking. Are there any specific questions on pending projects from the board? Okay. All right, we'll move on. Next on the agenda is our citizens' agenda. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak?
Can I give kudos to the city for getting the subway building torn down?
Sure, thank you.
You're all very much working on that. We appreciate that.
Yeah. We told you it was coming, didn't we?
We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Anybody else who would like to speak on the citizens' agenda? Yes, sir.
Scott Harvey. I think the gentleman had a very good point as far as radius versus linear driving or whatever. Is that going to be opened up to clear up that definition? Is that what you guys decided to do?
Well, the definition as of right now is like our plan director indicated, to be fair with what was on the agenda tonight. with the way it's been interpreted in the past, it's always been road radius. So unless the board goes and wants to clarify that, we do have periodic ordinance committee meetings where the full board is briefed and discusses. You have a committee, but then they bring those minutes and those discussions back in front of the full board for changes. So that's a question of the board. If I'm understanding right, are you asking, do they intend to change that in the future?
Radius to me means a certain point to a certain point, and you draw that circle. So what were his measurements as compared to, what was the measurement difference? What on the piece of paper he gave out?
By his measurement, the other salon would have been allowed. It would have been less than half a mile. But if you go by the measurements that we need to, the ordinance probably needs to be rewritten to how we do it, so yes. And I had asked the ordinance committee to,
Two things. One,
I like to look at it and just get rid of, redo the entire ordinance.
It sounds like maybe less than 100 feet.
At least, probably rewrite that.
bottom line is
Change radius to linearly.
you had business owners that just didn't want any more competition, which is, that's the chase, that's what it's done. But on the flip side is that's why I asked the question, how are we measuring? We measure what he wanted to measure, straight, or we do, and I asked Whitney, and she says, no, we always do it based on door to door, based on actual access points.
I can tell you why we did it via roadway, because when the ordinance was put in place, the GIS system that measures it now wasn't in play.
So we didn't have the technology.
So it was always measured by how you would get there from door to door. We gave it benefit of the doubt to the storefronts, but we didn't have that type. So what I did was try to measure it both on GIS via the roadway, and then of course do a window survey of it too. That's why.
Another thing I may add for everybody in the room, just my input on it. Obviously we don't know the intent. We weren't here then, but you would think that obviously the intent is how far customers have to travel. So to me, that makes sense that it would be road miles, because obviously you're not going to fly from one to the other. So if it's based, you consider the intent of the ordinance is the distance customers travel. So that's why I think it makes sense that it would be interpreted by roadway.
And it sounds like a very short distance of 50, 100 feet, maybe it's really close. Another thing I didn't hear was an impact of how many people are going to be moving to these new areas. So how many more potential customers and the density of population and customers, that could have been something bounced around as, well, you're going to have so many more people in this area that maybe we need to have a little bit of a leeway on something like that.
Well, that's why I tried to make the point of when this person might open up in the studio, if they didn't think that there was business to be made. Right. That's the whole idea. You're not going to go into a business, especially invest that sort of money into something where you're not going to have customers. And you are, like Alderman Flores alluded to earlier, you're starting to jockey with the free enterprise system too. Naturally the market is going to bear what it bears. If it's too dense, like Alderman Payne's saying, somebody's going to not do as well. So then it gets into competition. Like he mentioned, his wife will travel past 9 beauty salons to get to the one that she likes. Well, that's fair competition. So I'm just adding my 2 cents in, because I will be doing that if we have an ordinance committee meeting. I'm always leery of jacking with the free enterprise system too much. I think those issues work themselves out by simple economics.
The market solves those issues.
Sure, Alderman Gallagher appreciate if we got rid of a lot of insurance companies, right?
As long as they run.
I clear a half mile moratorium on that one, huh?
That's just little things I wanted to kind of see if you guys are going to clean that up. And if for future, it might come up again.
Yeah. Good points.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
Appreciate it. Anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, seeing or hearing none, we'll move on. Next on the agenda is our personnel docket.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the personnel docket as presented on this date.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman Hoops?
Yes.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is our city attorney's legal update. Mr. Nick Manley.
This came up yesterday morning with the fire department. We need to renew the MOU with the Mississippi Office of Homeland Security. They're requesting an update with the fire department for the state task force for those emergencies declared by the governor. So tonight, authorization to sign the MOU, which is fine. I'll look over the MOU and it has the appropriate provisions in there, and then Chief Sky just filed the MOU as well. Authorization for him to sign an MOU with the Mississippi Office of Homeland Security.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Gallagher. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda is the utility bill adjustment docket.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the utility bill adjustment docket as presented on this day.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Tonight, we only have one claims docket. Is there a motion to approve that claims docket?
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the claims docket in the amount of $1,041,516.64, including demand checks.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is to determine the need for executive session.
Make that motion. Second.
So a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Kelly. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The need this evening is to discuss economic development within the city. Is there a motion to declare executive session?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Gallagher. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The mayor and board will now enter executive session.
Get up, Sheldon. Get up.